Start. Hello, everybody. Welcome, RDT episode 4 on a Thursday. We were missing a few days, Joel. You know what I'm
We
saying?
sure have. We sure have.
It means
But
10 is going to be up to Friday, but
schedule.
hey, you know what I'm saying? We made it. We're in the week. You know what I'm saying? So like, bro, one thing's for certain. How are you?
Mm, trash.
Trash?
No. I'm just messing around. I had a really great day today. Very, very great day. So I came on with a smile, as you heard me earlier.
Hmm.
So, by the way, um, I was I was literally like disappointed when you said that we couldn't do RDT on Tuesday because I know you had to wake up early and
Yeah.
everything, and I completely understand that because I also have to get up early for school. So I was like, damn, this just doesn't feel weird on a Tuesday night just laying in my bed knowing that we didn't even do like the next episode for the series. But then again, I can't be too sad about it because here we are.
We are here, in fact.
Hmm. Yes, indeed.
It's something because I have been having the greatest of weeks, the greatest of days. It has been nothing but good vibes, great conversation, and just a really just great time. I feel revitalized, Joel. I feel like a new man. You know,
That's how I currently feel right now.
a lot of
Well,
new stuff
mainly
in my
because I'm on
life.
spring break. Mainly because I'm on spring break now. But for a while, but I can see what you mean. So
Yeah,
what's been happening throughout the week though?
but what happened throughout the week? It's just been productive. It's just been real
Hmm.
productive for me. It's like you know what? I have to get this done. Boom, I get it done. I have to draw this. Boom, I draw it. You know what I'm saying? Working on things as it goes. Getting down to the grindstone, as they say. And I,
Hmm.
I've been pretty happy about that. You know.
I see. I could see that. I'm glad to hear the positivity. Actually, I came on hoping there was going to be positivity, but I knew there was.
Um.
Literally, um, literally, like throughout this whole week, like the workload has been a lot easier, so I was able to manage more time doing what I needed to do and what I wanted to do. So it wasn't too stressful this week. I do know for a fact that throughout spring break, I do have like 2 exams as soon as I come back. So I'll be studying throughout spring break. However, I'll still have enough time to work and obviously hop online with you guys and do some RDT. So it's nothing going to be too bad. I could handle it.
Yeah. It's.
Also,
Mhm.
it was a great week because I finally finished Full Metal Alchemist.
Full Metal Alchemist. You know what? This might be an interesting type of discussion today because, guys, not a lot happened to us this week. Here and there. It was good. It was good vibes. We were going places, but it might be a little different today. It might be more focused here. Might as well just call this the Full Metal Alchemist plus Neverland
The an-
Ranch.
the
Uh,
pure anime review.
Yeah, the pure anime review time. So, bro, let's start this out like real simple, like, you know what I'm saying? Because there hasn't been anything else happening. Bro, tell me how this started, bro. What made you what drew you to this Full Metal Alchemist life that you've been living for the past few
Well,
weeks?
you've been telling me that for a long time now that it was definitely my type of anime, with the whole military aspect and everything.
Yeah, a lot about family
So,
as well.
family as well. And throughout the time I've been thinking about it, did some research on it, like mainly on like the synopsis, just to get a good overview of what it was going to be about. And so I thought, this is actually interesting. Now, originally, I didn't know exactly which series to start off with because obviously, like, there's 2 series. There's the 2003 original anime, and then you have Brotherhood, the '09 anime. Now, I didn't know the difference between the both of them. In fact, that's why I had to consult you to actually figure that out. So it turns out apparently the '03 anime deviates from the manga, but I think like later half. like the later half of the story actually switches and it becomes like its own plot. Whereas you told me like Brotherhood actually like sticks and follows with the manga, so I was like, huh. So I decided to stay true, obviously, and watch Brotherhood.
Mm,
Now I will eventually I will look into the original 2003 version because it does seem interesting, and also I might even check out like the two movies too for
mm,
each of the series respectively.
yeah.
So because I'm telling you, like after watching the last episode of Full Metal Alchemist, I wanted more. Like I didn't like, and I'm just so happy that there's like literally another series with like a whole like new plot to it for the at least for the second half anyway,
Yes.
and two movies to follow. So I was like, okay, so it's not completely over, but I'm glad that I got the main series out of the way. So that's a plus for
Joel,
me.
Joel, before we go any further, tell me this, bro. If you could describe your experience watching this anime in 3 words, just 3 words, what would they be?
Um, adventurous, chilling, and moving.
Mm, okay. All right. So let's start with some principal characters. What did you think of Edward Elric? Well, not even that.
Uh,
Hold on. Dial it back. Let's bring it back. What did you think of the premise? So explain the premise to me and then your thoughts on it.
okay, so basically, the whole premise of Full Metal Alchemist it basically starts off with two young boys known as Edward Elric and Alphonse Elric, basically two brothers. Basically, throughout their time, they're interested in learning the science known as alchemy, and eventually they lose their mother, and basically they want to try and use alchemy to bring back their mother from the dead using by performing human transmutation, which is basically a forbidden thing in alchemy.
Hmm.
Now, basically, they get all the ingredients they need to perform human transmutation. However, it goes wrong, and in the process, Ed loses his left leg, but Alphonse loses his entire body, and then Ed is transported to his gate of truth. Yeah, to the gate to the portal, where he basically goes to the gate and basically is filled with all the secrets that alchemy has to offer, thus giving him his ability to transmute without actually having to draw a circle. Now, as a result of the failed human transmutation, since Alphonse has been completely taken, Ed basically grabs the suit of armor in their dad's study, basically draws a blood seal inside the suit of armor, and then bounds his and basically sacrifices his right arm to bring Al's soul back and bound it to the suit of armor, which I thought was which was a very gripping scene, by the way. Like literally the amount of chills I got from that one scene, and it was like what only like one or two episodes into the series.
Hmm.
I was just like, fuck, dude. Like I felt I felt goosebumps just watching that and hearing like Ed's scream and his determination to bring his brother back.
Yeah.
So basically, it starts off there, and basically they seek out on an adventure to basically find
Away.
the philosopher a way to bring back their bodies using the
Yeah.
philosopher's stone. And throughout the way and beforehand, Ed is brought into the military after hearing of his phenomenal alchemic abilities. So basically, he is brought into the military, and he's dubbed Full Metal as his nickname when he joins.
Yes.
And throughout their time, he's hoping that maybe it can give them a chance to actually find a way to restore their bodies, and basically that's where it all ensues.
Okay.
So basically,
So,
that's the premise of
so,
it.
so just to say, right here is a good time to say this. Remember, guys, spoilers out the wazoo up until this point. We've basically told you, and he's basically told you how you like it. I always like the series. Now, we're getting into spoiler territory at this point. So, Joel,
Hmm.
tell me about. Let's start with some characters, and then we'll get into some more concepts as we go. But let's start with the principal character, Edward Elric. What do you think of him? How did the character speak to you when you first
He
saw him?
developed. Okay, originally it was comic relief
Hmm.
because the way it was serious in the beginning when he was introduced as the Full Metal Alchemist by one of the characters, and then it basically goes into like, and it basically is introduced into a short. We're introduced to a short joke that is made. And here we find out that Ed is definitely temperamental when it comes to being commented about his height because he's very sensitive about it. So I was like, huh. So he's a short guy, huh? So he's pretty short then, from what I could infer. But he seems like a really nice guy and very determined. But he just seems in the beginning he seemed more of like a comic relief type of guy, you know.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
Hmm.
I wanted to know more about him, so thankfully there were more episodes to come. But go ahead.
I always liked the fact that he was a very logical character. Not like he was still a hothead, but he was a hothead who used science and things of that nature, which was very interesting.
Yeah, he
Um,
was very knowledgeable too.
Yes,
That's the
very
one thing I give it
knowledgeable.
to him.
One thing that I noticed is that there is another character coming out very soon from Dr. Stone that, now that I'm thinking about it, does remind me a lot of Edward Elric. It's the scientist in that show, and I'm wondering if you will see the same thing when that show comes out, because they are both very science orientated. But the thing is that um, the one thing about that I really like is just how he's very determined. He's very like, yo, I can do this. He doesn't really, not that I recall, does he ever really like doubt himself too much. He certainly does go through pain, but I don't think he very much doubts himself a lot, and that's
The
very
connection
interesting.
he has with his brother is amazing. Like
Yes. All right, on to
I
his
was just
brother.
like, wow.
What's how do you feel about Alphonse himself, the man in the suit of armor, the soul of the
Definitely
suit of armor?
not definitely not a hothead like his older brother, but he's the cinnamon bun of the fucking series. I'm sorry. He's just too pure. I love Alphonse. I honestly even concluded after the series that I feel like I liked Alphonse more than Edward. Don't get me wrong. I still love Ed as a character because he developed so much throughout the character, like throughout the whole series, mentally and even physically. He actually grew taller by the end of the series, even before the fights leading up to the last homunculi. He was actually significantly taller
Yes,
too.
taller than Winry, I believe.
Hmm.
Which I don't remember if that was canon or not. I can't remember exactly, but yes, he was taller than her, and that was nobody really even noticed. Um,
Like that scene when when he basically told her to flee the country
yes,
just for their safety, and like after she confronted him about basically doing his best to get his body back and save the country, that scene where it's like he's standing over, I was like, yo, is it me or did he actually grow tall? Because he was shorter than Winry from
now I don't
several
remember
episodes
exactly
ago.
if that was canon or not, but it was interesting to see, especially since it was coming to a head in the climax. Plot points. So as the plot grew, what did you think of it? Because we started getting into homunculi, you know, it was a
Okay,
lot of things
originally
happened.
I was just thinking why the hell are the homunculi there? Like I was just thinking what is their role going to be? And I was actually interested when I found out that they're basically based off of the deadly sins. So I was like, "Huh. So there's definitely more to the series than I think. It's just I want to know exactly what the homunculi have anything to do with, you know, the Elric brothers' goal and getting their bodies back, you know?" So that was quite interesting that they were introduced, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, continue actually because it slipped out of my head. But
Um, what I was asking was, okay, so a few things. So this is a very important character. So Scar, how did you like his role in the series?
okay, originally, um, I didn't like him. I really didn't.
Hmm.
He he obviously gave off that villain vibe, and he just seemed like a man with murderous intent.
Hmm.
And from all like we were from the information I was given for like the beginning of the series, apparently his goal was to kill every state alchemist for the revenge of his fallen brothers of Ishval. So
Yes.
I was like, huh, he's sort of like Stain in a way, but and just without the sense of purging because of you know
Yeah.
fake heroes and
Yeah.
such.
Less ideal, more trauma, I feel.
Yeah,
With Scar.
like it was more of that thing where it was like you can't blame him for why he feels that way, but at the same time his solution was wrong, just like Stain.
Yeah.
Like respect, like the
You
ideology makes
respect
sense.
what he's saying, but you're just going about it
You
the
don't,
total
but I
wrong
don't
way.
agree with the I don't agree with his resolution
Yeah,
at all.
the methods just don't justify the means.
Yeah,
But so
but
so
throughout the series though, like
so
yeah,
here's the thing. This will be in conjunction because this is a very so Fear King Bradley was the head of that attack on Ishval at the time.
yes,
When they had their
he
final bout, it was really like a very it was fitting because of how that happened in the war, and he was the leader of the attack on it, and Scar was of the people. So like, what did you think of Fuhrer King Bradley in the show?
he seemed like a very humble man in the beginning,
Hmm.
quite interesting. Although he seemed quite mysterious too. After all, like he didn't really appear too much for the first few episodes. He was just known as basically the leader of a mistress. So in my head, I'm just thinking, okay, he seems like a very, very interesting character. Obviously, he serves as an important role in the series, considering that he's basically the higher up and basically rules over Amestris and is practically the leader of the Amestrian military. So in my head, I'm just thinking, okay, like he for his age, he seems like a very honorable man, very experienced. So I was like, there's not that much I really thought too much of him. Not
Hmm.
until later, until when I found out what his true identity was, and I was fucking stoked because I was like, I would have not expected that. Because I was like, throughout this whole time, they've been working. Literally, Ed and Al have been doing jobs, working with the military for a fucking homunculi, and I was like, there is no freaking way. So I
Hmm.
was actually shocked when I found out that he was Wrath. And also, I want to drop this in too. Apparently, after Hughes is killed
Hmm.
by Envy, and at the funeral,
Yeah,
you can when you hear his daughter crying, you can see that Wrath is shaking. And originally, I thought it was because just
he was.
hearing the despair of Alicia, I think was her name, basically that it was just too much to handle and that he was also getting emotional. But it turns out that that was basically his rage building
Yeah,
up. So
because
I was like,
of that
huh,
weakness. Now that's what I really want to talk about. Did you see the depth of his character? Because he's my favorite homunculi because of how he acts. Like, on one hand, yeah, he acts inhuman, but he acts really human too in the same time because he's just like he's like he doesn't like to see that weakness of people. He like if
yeah.
you stick to your guns and you die by your sword. You know what I'm saying? That's how he plays.
I could
And like,
see that's what the way he developed throughout the series is how I
yeah,
could tell. Okay, I could see why you like.
especially that ending talk with him and Scar, because when they were fighting, and like,
Yeah,
he was really saying to Scar. He was like, "Listen, man, you're like, bro, so that's what you're gonna do? You're gonna use creation now? You're gonna use your
after
brother's shit?"
seeing his yeah,
And
after seeing
that
his
was wild
background.
because it's almost like he wanted him to stay in that negative place, you know? Which is
Yeah,
wild. Like that's something else to say. Like, yo, like I wanted you to be bad because that's sticking to your guns, you know. And like he just he had this way of just being like, you either do it or you don't, and it was just so cool. Like his way of thinking is just so cool to me. Did you see that?
yeah, like he definitely to me he felt more like human compared to the other homunculi, you know.
Hmm.
So it was like I honestly that's why of all the homunculi I think I like him a lot too.
Hmm.
Because he definitely has some thoughts that are relatable. Just he doesn't like to see the weaknesses of humans and such, and that's why he loads like how they live and such,
Yeah.
and that he feels that people should honor what they live by, and that they should stick, like you said, stick to their guns, which is what I personally honor too. So it was like
And
I could
yeah,
definitely see
it's
why
like a
he
thing of
became.
like, you don't give up on your mission, but it's almost like he denies change. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
and like he hates faith. He hates God. He hates that they believe in something. He's more like, believe in yourself and that's it, which is a very interesting way of thinking, you know.
it is.
And that's fascinating as a character, like as a character in general. So like, yeah, but but it's just like, and then like, you know how the ninja girl was saying like, how do you feel dying like this or whatever, and like,
Lan
he,
Fun, I believe was
yeah,
her
Lon
name.
Fun, and like he was just like, shit, I'm alright. Like, it to the
He
end.
was quite. He did. He seemed very. He seemed quite content with
Yeah,
it
he
too,
was like,
as his body started to
like,
age.
like, if I'll age, I'm dying and shit. And he even like low key on some level even loved his human wife on some level, which he's a very just interesting character to me, and like just one of those characters that I'm just like, dang, he really just was like, yo, I'm like he held himself in a high regard too. He was like, do you really think I'm gonna step in the back door of my palace when he was going up against the guys? Now that was some real shit
Yeah,
when he
I
was
agree.
when
I
he was
really.
like,
I
am
vibed
I
with it.
am I really about to go into the back door of my palace? I'm walking in the front fucking gate, and that was live. So, but what's even crazier, Joel, is the fact that, like, that happened. So that was him, and do you understand why I liked him so much at that point, right?
Yeah, like it actually made more sense to me why you favored his character
Yeah,
and why he was
that's why
definitely
he's
one of
my
your
my
favorites
favorite
amongst the
homunculi.
homunculi.
Now, going to one that I thought would have been your favorite, Greed. What did you think of Greed? He was a very interesting character.
Yes, because I could relate to him. Basically, in a sense that everyone wants everything, and I remember as a kid, I was very, very greedy. Like I wanted everything, like every store that I went to, and whenever I see something appealing to my eye, I'd always ask for it. And if I don't get my way, I obviously, you know, throw a tantrum and start a fit, like have a fit. Like I felt greed because he basically wanted all the wealthier things in life, power, women, respect, everything. He was that type of guy, and everyone can relate to greed because that is like he is basically the
Yeah,
most common one out of everyone because
but
everyone has a want,
the thing
so it
is that
counts as
was
greed in
what
a
is
way.
amazing about him was that the only thing that he never could get and he always wanted. That's why he always surrounded himself with them, was just fucking friends. I think. Yeah, yeah. He just wanted fucking
Yeah,
friends,
that's
man.
why like
He
at
just
the end
wanted
of the series, like
connections.
before like the after before Ed defeated Father, like the way he died and the way he basically went out, and just for the sole fact that he reminisced, basically saying that he wanted friends, and literally Ed Ling gave them all he needed. I thought that was like wow, you know. I was just like he sacrificed himself
Yeah. And
to
he
basically
stole that king's body right quick, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm in here now," which was just wild. But and that, like, that was crazy. But what did you think of Scar's revitalization, though, when he finally said, "You know what? I'm going to use the creation, and I've accepted both forms of alchemy."
that gave me that honestly was one of the moment chills of a series because I was like, you basically took a man filled with hatred and anger whose main intent is basically to kill for the revenge of his people, who basically had a change of heart, and they didn't like the way he had a change of heart by the end of the series. It didn't feel forced at all. Like there was a good amount of build up leading up to it.
Yeah,
Him allying with Ed and all of them to basically get revenge. Because after he finally was revealed the truth that envy was the reason why, like that war started, it made sense why he turned his anger towards the homunculi to basically kill that, like
yeah.
try and kill them all
We're
instead of
going through
going for the state alchemist.
some villains for now, but then we'll splice in the more nuanced characters, because there's the state alchemist that we need to figure out, and there's the one Kimberly that, well, we'll talk about him later because
Yeah.
he's an interesting character, but we'll talk about him later. Um, so what do you like? Okay, so next to Monkey Lie, what did you think of Pride?
Okay. In the beginning of when we're introduced to him as Salim Bradley, he seemed he seemed like a very charismatic and very enthusiastic type of child. He seemed quite intelligible for his age, and I thought that, and this was before too. We find out that this was after, and this is like literally after we find out that Bradley's a homunculi. I felt bad for Salim because I was like, shit, him and his mother don't even realize that their father is practically a homunculi. However, later, oh, honestly, I gotta throw this in. That scene where he basically trolled fucking Ed by calling him the tiny alchemist was one of the best scenes. And
Mm.
and finally, like revealing his true nature, it was even funnier because it was like, wow, he Pride literally just dead ass did it on purpose to piss him off. So that was like one of the best Pride moments I've seen. So when we finally find out like who he really is, I was like, yo, that's fucking insane. And I was just thinking, does that mean Mrs. Bradley is also homunculi? But when we find out, like, apparently that Salim is adopted, it's like, so there might not even be a chance. But and it just occurred to me that she probably doesn't even know that, like, her family are homunculi.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
sad.
felt bad. I ultimately felt bad for her, and I honestly thought she was going to be one of the characters to die in the series as a result of being closely associated with them. So I just felt bad for her, and because she seemed like a very genuine woman. So I was like, she does not deserve this shit in her life. She's just trying to live a normal life, and she had to be like dragged into all of this.
Mm.
So I was just like, wow, you
Yeah.
know.
Um. Pride. So how was Pride prideful?
How was he prideful? Basically, the way he spoke of his father, you know, the way he spoke of, spoke of Wrath, and the way he just acts gives off the tone of a prideful person.
Mm.
Like he seemed very confident with himself. He seemed that he felt he was more superior to humans. He felt like, and basically also we discover that he's one of the first homunculi to be created. If I'm correct,
Hmm.
like it definitely hit me on why like he had that prideful demeanor and the way he acted too. He seemed quite narcissistic in the sense, you know.
Mm. Yes.
So I was like, huh. It
How did
just
he
was
die again?
unexpected that he was a kid. Um, I believe after swallowed Kimberly, I think basically he used up most of his most of the power from his Philosopher's Stone to force Colonel Mustang into human transmutation. So he was literally on his last lifeline, and then basically Kimberly distracted him, reminding him of his overconfidence, and not giving Ed enough time to reach into his Philosopher's Stone to break him.
Mm. Okay. Next would be Sloth. Do you remember Sloth?
Oh yes, I do. In fact, the Briggs Fortress, because I think that's where we're finally introduced to him. Well, no, actually, we were introduced to him like after Greed dies before
Mm.
he's reincarnated, but we just don't. But this was before we find out like who he really is.
Yeah.
So Sloth, honestly, he just for being strong and all, yeah, but he just for some reason his character didn't really click in with me that much. Like I
Wasn't
didn't
really
find him.
taken too seriously. I noticed like it was just very mundane. Um, you know, just
It
strong.
was one of those characters that were basically like, come on, you introduce him, and I felt like you could have done so much more with them. And the way he also died too, I was like, huh. Well, you look at that. Like he literally, that basically sums everything up. That he just did not, he wasn't that much of an eventful character to
Hmm.
begin with.
Very,
So
very short-lived character. What did you think of what do you think of Lust?
she seemed like a very. I felt like she was one of the most important homunculi, thinking that basically she carried out most of the plans for the homunculi.
Hmm.
Because after all, like for the first few episodes, she was basically the one who was leading them for the most part. For That's how you know.
Yeah, she was
And
the most active at least.
yeah, that's like she was definitely like the most active homunculi, and basically she had envy and gluttony tag along, and her death was satisfying because Mustang burned the shit out of her.
Yeah.
and I was just like, wow. Like I thought she would have lasted longer, you know?
Yeah.
The way she seduced Havoc though, basically posing as a regular human under the alias of Solaris.
Hmm.
When she mentioned that, I was like, "Yo, Sonic 06?" No, I'm fucking around. But I was just like, "Huh." You know, Solaris certainly feels like a name you'd give a woman like her. You know, she
Yeah.
definitely has that kind of like aura surrounding her. So I was like, she was definitely a very, very interesting character. You know,
Yeah. Uh, what did you think of Gluttony?
uh, I felt like he was the more comic, like the more comic relief of the homunculi.
Yeah, he was a pretty one note. He was just like, I like to eat.
He was like there would be like honestly, I was hoping that he'd have more, like interesting lines in a way, but all of them would basically equal up to, "Can I eat him after we're done?" So I was like, he is literally the butt of all jokes for the homunculi. Like he just does
Hmm.
not seem like that much of
Yeah.
an interesting character.
I
But he
think,
was definitely more interesting than Sloth, that's for sure.
yeah. I think, well, Sloth and Gluttony are much more indulgent, primal like feelings. I mean, Wrath was pretty interesting, but like, they're much more like, pretty one note in and of itself. So, what I need to ask you now though is this: the most I feel nuanced character,
I know who it is too.
Envy, did
I
everybody dirty. Everybody.
loathe Envy. Not for the death of Hughes, but for the deaths of countless of people from different countries. Basically, for the sole fact that he was the one who started the Ishvalan War. Basically, posing as an Emestrian soldier who shoots an Ishvalan child in public, sparking the war between Amestris and Ishval. And they also mention that he is I believe they mentioned that he is the most cruelest of the homunculi,
Mm,
considering that he's basically held a grudge against how humans are, and basically felt that he would like they were inferior, and that he literally gains the satisfaction of them killing each other over,
yeah.
over like small things that escalate into huge situations, and he basically takes so much from it. Now, about his death,
Ultimately realizing in his death, yes. Continue.
ultimately realizing that his like the embarrassment that he throughout this time he felt that he was superior to the humans, when really he Ed reminds him that how jealous he was just because he felt that humans were more inferior to the homunculi. And also really coming to that conclusion, I honestly, for a homunculi who I felt was the cruelest homunculi and who I felt wanted the worst death possible, like my expectations were exceeded because okay, Mustang burned the shit out of Envy. Like
Burned,
he literally did him dirty, and
like, yeah. Just like Envy did
he but
everybody else dirty. Like,
but at the
bruh.
same time, Mustang was also like at the same time, like when Hawkeye stopped Mustang from fully killing Envy because it would have only given Envy that satisfaction of basically having Mustang kill him out of anger, which is basically what Envy loves is when people start killing each other over like situations and such, because Envy loved it because he loved seeing the destruction of human relationships. But when Ed and Scar stepped in to basically remind Envy that even enemies of different situations can come together to settle ties, and which was what led Envy to that embarrassment. The way he cried and the way he killed himself was hard. Like it was like, damn. Like only like this was one of the only series I could think of that made me actually felt bad for the most hated character in the series for their actions, and I actually felt bad for Envy
Hmm.
for the fact that he was humiliated. And the fact that literally, yeah, although Colonel Mustang was the one who brought him down to his lowest form, technically he was the only homunculi that I've noticed who died by his own hands. Like he literally like ripped out his own philosopher's stone and crushed it right in front of them.
Yeah, because
And
he
I
was
was
like, damn.
and then I was like, damn. And then in the end, Envy did himself dirty.
That he did everybody dirty, even himself. Like Envy is one of those characters I'm like, dang, like, and just the way that they would like he would talk to Ed. It was just like, dang, she like you could tell how
He
jelly she is.
like I started like even when they were trapped in Gluttony's stomach, the way he interacted before he revealed that he was the reason behind the Ishvalan war and ultimately Winry's parents' death and why Scar became a murderer, like he seemed like an okay homunculi. Like it was whatever. Like he's just that guy who's like, listen, I ain't trying to start any problems. I'm just trying to do my fucking thing. But I also have my ideals as well. Just understand how I feel. And then he eventually came out with the truth that he was the one who started the whole fiasco to begin with. So that's when we're introduced to
I
his
love how you just
true
described a
form.
genocidal war fiasco. I'm just joking, but so like okay, so so the last one was father, but we'll wait for that for the final talk. Let's go through some state alchemists. So let's go with everybody's love him to death. Armstrong. What did you think of Armstrong?
The good major. I honestly, I think he's one of my favorite characters of this whole series. I think I actually he's number one.
Mm.
I ain't gonna lie, he is my number one favorite character of the Full Metal series because the way like he has an undeniable charm to him. The way he speaks with the way he speaks, the way he acts, and the way he just is overall. He seems like an over the top character that you can't help but shake your head and just be like, I fucking love this guy.
I mean, with
Cause
everything else sad going on, at least there's Armstrong.
just for the sole fact that out of all like every situation he's in, this man freaking rips his shirt off. In a lot of the situations he's in.
The strong
Like
arm alchemist.
the first episode when Ed and Al deal with the freezing alchemist, literally when they're in the hospital, the way he is and the fact that he rips his shirt off, given that Armstrong healing technique, and the way Ed and Al react, I was like, yo, what the fuck?
Yes.
Like, also for a sole fact that I was like, huh, he definitely sounds like All Might, but that's also because they shared the same voice actor, which I was like, huh. In my head, I was just thinking, how would All Might and Major react to each other if they ever met each other? I was just thinking like, I wonder how
I'm
they'd feel
pretty
about
sure
each
the
other.
same way that Armstrong reacted to the teachers, Ed Now's teacher's husband,
Oh,
when remember when
Curtis,
yeah, remember when they flexed for
Sig
each other.
Curtis. Oh yeah, during the sloth fight.
No, no, when they first met, or was that in the older series? I'm not
I
sure.
think in the older series they met at a butcher shop, but
Yeah. Oh,
oh
dang.
09 in
Yeah.
the '09 series they met during the fight with Sloth.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah. Either way. That was a nice scene. See, each one has some good scenes in them. But okay. So what did you think of Hughes when he was first introduced, and what do you think of his character?
Comic relief
Yeah.
originally. He just every moment, if it's not him like taking talking about, like if it's not him discussing to Roy about certain matters, it's him talking about his daughter and his wife, his family, and how he's very family oriented. And honestly, I was actually struck hard when Envy killed him.
Yeah. Right
No,
in front of him.
I'm not exaggerating either, because I was actually really disappointed when he died too early in the series.
Yeah. What did you think of his funeral?
I felt like Wrath.
Oh.
I, the way Wrath was shaking out of
But
anger was how I felt.
but like in the way that it was firstly interpreted.
Yeah, when
Fucking
it was
envy.
firstly interpreted,
Yeah,
I was like, I hope Envy gets the most, suffers the worst death out of all of them,
like, bro, and just
and I
hit
was not
hit him where
disappointed.
it did him. Envy did him dirty too. Just decided to show him his wife's face, and you know he melted at that shit, and then she fucking
When
shot him.
Mustang, by the way, also that reminds me, when he poses Hughes during his final fight with Mustang, and the fact that Mustang didn't even hesitate to
Yeah.
burn Envy,
And
he
I'm
was
telling you,
like,
like you
Maze
can't do
Hughes
that.
is
I
dead.
like dead ass. Like you can't do that. Like I'm gonna be honest. You pose as somebody that I know, and I know that motherfucker's gone. You're done.
I'm burning the fuck out of you.
Get the fuck out of you.
I'm I'm cooking you up. I don't give a shit. Fucking roasted,
Like
motherfucker.
that's wild. That's wild. But I guess that's a good jumping off point. So what did you think of uh, uh, Mustang?
Mustang, he seemed like a serious character overall, but there were moments where couldn't like I contemplated if he was more comic relief
I
because
mean,
there were.
like I see you've been doing this a little bit. Like you got to remember that, like in anime, there's characters that can be funny and also serious at the same time. So it's multifaceted.
I know, but he just like like he's just as temperamental as Ed when he's basically insulted about his uselessness during rainy days because of course the flame alchemist. So I was like, huh, he obviously doesn't take kindly to people commenting about his usefulness when it comes to rainy days, just like how Ed is quite sensitive with his height. But he seemed like a very interesting character overall. He seemed, to be honest, in the beginning, he seemed like generic to me. And what I mean by that is basically, I felt like he was basically one of those characters that served an important role in terms of what they are and what their character is based around on. But
Hmm.
then we finally like learn later on, basically, like throughout the series, like what his true intentions are, and basically that he wants to become Fuhrer to basically destroy the corruption of Amestris and basically restore Ishval. So I was like, Mustang definitely is a great character in the sense of what he developed to become and what he truly is, which is why I actually like this character.
Yeah.
And yes, he was quite of a funny character too, because there were a good amount of comic release with him. So I was like, he's like a combination of like both serious, determined, and funny.
What do you
So I
think
like
about?
actually like this.
What did you think about it? His lieutenant
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye.
She is a gem for him. I actually honor her stoic manner and the fact that I love her. I love how disciplined she is, and how loyal. Because she, in a way, she's not. She's loyal. At the same time, she's not loyal to a fault either, because she won't obey certain order. She won't obey every order that Mustang gives her. Like there were times where she outright refused a Mustang if she felt that, first of all, it wasn't like it wasn't the right thing to do, or she felt that it would cause some harm. So it was like she seemed like a very good character. Originally, she seemed like like the token badass of the series,
Mm.
but then we learn later on, basically, like that she's very caring. She's obviously a lot different than how she is when she's in the military, and she's just like a caring mother. She's like a caring mother to Ed, even Al, as opposed to Azumi, where she's more of the strict mother. But we'll get into her afterwards. So I honestly thought Hawkeye was a nice character
Yeah.
too, very like the token like the badass of the series to me.
Yeah.
You know,
Speaking of state alchemists and the like, damn, fuck, getting a little sad here. What did you think of Nina?
oh, I knew this was coming.
Classic.
Fuck her dad. By the way,
Yeah, yeah. The only person who didn't
like
get done dirty by Envy.
no, and technically Scar did them dirty in the end too.
It's very true.
But first of all, she was a nice little girl. She was playful, something I'd expect. She was innocent. And the dog, you know how much I love dogs too.
Yeah.
Alexander, I loved both Alexander and Nina and the interaction they had with the Elric brothers. But Shao Tucker, ooh, that fucking scum underneath the fucking shoe. Fuck that guy. For the sole fact that he was desperate to keep his state certifications as an alchemist,
So
and that
badly.
his so badly that he had to transmute his freaking daughter and the dog into a fucking chimera. And out of desperation to make sure he doesn't lose his state certification, and not to mention the fact that Nina and Alexander would have to suffer for the rest of their lives because the effects are irreversible, even with alchemy, nothing could be
Now,
fixed.
something that was very interesting in that scene was that he basically, told Edward like, "Hey, what are you willing to do to, for your goal and shit like that?" And I guess it was like to say like, "Oh shit, will Ed have to like, choose some shit? He might have to make some tough choices out here." Did you think he ever had to make a choice like how he had to do with like how uh like how that nigga
Shao Tucker
how Shao Tucker did his
again, like
Do you think
what we could
they
think
ever like paid that off about his warning to him that he wasn't like Shao Tucker?
in a sense, yeah.
What
But
do you
then
think?
again, Ed basically did what he did because he was young. Him and Al were young. You think they would have known that what they did was gonna be wrong and that it was gonna backfire?
It's very
Shao
true.
Tucker,
That's very
Shao
true. You're
Tucker,
not even wrong about that one.
like I'm quite sure Ed, like all of that would have been avoided if Ed and Al knew ahead of time. Hey, like Ed, I'm just saying this might cost you a leg and an arm, and Al, it might cost you a fucking body. I think this is a good idea.
Yeah,
But
it
Shao
wasn't
Tucker knew
like
exactly what the fuck he was doing, and he knew for a sole fact that if it meant keeping his state certification as an alchemist, that he would go the length to basically sacrifice his daughter, turning into her a damn human chimera. So I was like, the guy's old enough to know what he's doing. Ed and Al were young, so it's like it makes sense. So fuck that guy. He still has no justification for his actions. But
well, yeah, obviously not. Um,
so it was quite satisfying to see Scar actually take him out, and it's not like Scar wanted to kill Nina and Nina and Alexander. He did it because he knew that the effects were irreversible and that he had to put them out of their misery. So it only made sense on why Scar had to kill them too. But when he killed Tucker, I was like, "Yeah, thank you." He was like, "He's not that much of a bad guy, is he?" Not until we find out exactly what he did.
yeah,
But moving on, though.
because he was killing Scar. He was
Yeah.
killing.
Oh yeah.
It's an interesting factor. Uh, that it when he was in so as we can see, life ain't easy out here, you know, for a
Hmm.
pimp. And we're going to some other characters right now. What'd you think of Wenry's character? Main love interest and Ed's automail engineer.
She didn't seem like the damsel in distress type of character, and she she definitely felt like she had a more bigger role as a support character, considering that she is technically the reason why Ed uh holds a lot of malice towards Scar for the sole purpose that Scar was the reason she lost her parents. So she was honestly I love her character overall. Like she definitely seemed more than just a support character, you know.
So would
She was
you
both emotionally supportive and physically supportive at the same time, given the fact that she's Ed's automail mechanic.
Very true.
So
So would you say that Scar is Ed's rival?
um in a sense, I could see that they could be rivals in a way because basically both strive for a goal to basically what am I trying to say? They basically strive for a goal to destroy corruption in a way and restore things and like restore things to the way they were because basically fucking what am I trying to say? Scar obviously wants to try and restore Ishval, but in his sense of doing so, he's killing off all the state alchemists that he can get his hands on. Whereas Ed is sort of the same way because in terms of destroying the corruption, because you saw like how in the first like couple episodes, like the whole thing that happened in Lior when he basically exposed the fake priest of his corruptions and basically showed that his miracles are basically just a use of alchemy. So
Yeah,
basically, they both like strive for that goal, but then again, I can't see them as rivals because there's too much. Like it's not like they're fighting for the same cause. Not until at least the end, you know. But
dang,
even then,
Joel,
like I
you really
still
know
wouldn't
what a
even.
rival is, so that's good. That's true. They're not fighting for the same goal, so
Yeah,
that does make sense. That does make sense. Um, I would almost say that Envy and Edward, Jesus Christ, are more rivals in certain terms. But here's the thing. I forgot a few state alchemists. The one that retired, the one that said fuck this game. What did you think of Kimberly?
was it Doctor Marco?
No, I was about to ask you about Kimberly,
Oh, the Crimson
the
Alchemist.
Crimson Alchemist. Yes,
He seems like a sadistic character.
he is. He is very much
Very
so, but a
like,
realistic one.
yeah, like a
Oddly
realistic one
enough.
too. I could see that, but like the way he plays out and the way he acts, like he just seems like he has like a malicious intent to reach his goal. Like he obviously wants to strive to reach his goal, but in a more malicious intent,
Cause you
doing
remember
things
in Ishval that nigga was having fun.
he was basically the dude that literally killed Scar's family. If you think about it, yeah, because Scar was bleeding out, so technically his brother was still alive, but Kimberly was the reason why Scar's brother had to sacrifice himself to keep Scar alive.
Like especially the way they animated him during that time. He was just like, yeah, yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, something to
He was
kill,
that nigga
kill.
that felt himself too much. Like,
He was
he
feeling
was that
himself on
nigga
that
that felt
battlefield, my nigga.
feel himself.
Like he was really dead ass. He was like, yeah, oh yeah, it's
He's that
time.
nigga that feels himself when he gets like a fucking 25
Yo,
perfect kill streak in the Call of
there
Duty
are a lot
game.
of moments in this anime where people just look like they're experiencing how to chew five gum, how it feels to chew five gum, and that was one of those moments, especially when he nuked the place. It was just such a crazy thing. So what else is odd is that Kimberly also told Hawkeye, younger Hawkeye, he was basically being realistic with all of them. They were like, listen, we killers out here, all right, that's it. You know, we can all say, oh, we're doing something noble or whatever. Bullshit. We're killers
But
out
he
here.
basically
You
tried
might
to
as well,
convince
yeah,
her in the end that basically soldiers were just killers, and
yeah,
basically that's who they were.
yeah,
But
and that's why he's just like, yo, if I'm here, I'm here. I'm
which is
I'm
crazy
doing
because
this.
when like literally before Ed was brought into the Korean military, Hawkeye and Winry had a conversation, and basically Winry talked about how she loathed someone like Hawkeye because they were in the military, and the military was the reason why her parents were dead. But the fact that Hawkeye changed Winry's perspective when she told her that the reason why she was in the military was because she was in it to protect somebody, which is which
Yeah.
changed Winry's whole perspective of the military.
Another thing about Hawkeye was the fact that she has the lesson, the thing for flame alchemy on her back. I'm pretty sure like the only one or
Yeah,
something. So yeah,
her father basically like had her like had his research tattooed onto her back, and
which just
basically
makes
before
that Mustang Hawkeye thing even closer. But like
yeah, and I
and
was just thinking, was it done with her consent though? Like, was she forced to?
I
Was
doubt
it
that.
like
I'm
or?
pretty sure it was a more mutual thing. Like, yeah, here's a flame thing.
But the thing was though, like she mentioned that she was estranged from her father, and that they really it was difficult for them to get along because they didn't really knew each other that much. She wasn't really that close with him, you know. And she was even scared that Mustang would fall to the same path as her father with the whole flame alchemy, and that she even asked him, you know, at one point that she wanted him to burn off the research from her back. So I was just like, wow.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I'm forgetting any other state alchemists that are of interesting note.
Um, other state alchemist other than Isaac McDougall, the freezing alchemist in the first episode.
Yeah,
Honestly,
that
I need
was
to
pretty
just throw.
straightforward.
But I need to throw him in real quick
What's up?
because he had a big point though. He foreshadowed the entire series
Hmm.
because he basically said that he was trying to take out Bradley because of what he's doing to the country, and he wasn't wrong either because we didn't know at that point
Yeah.
that that Bradley was Wrath, and that he basically the homunculi was leading the entire country to their doom. Technically speaking, it also connects to the fact that Father used the homunculi and all these different wars to basically create this huge transmutation circle around the country to open up a portal to absorb God to become the perfect being
Good
too.
job on linking those together, Joel.
And that basically Isaac McDougall, the freezing alchemist, basically he just tried to stop. He basically tried to freeze Central over to basically prevent Bradley from doing anything more. So basically, even though he seemed like a short-lived character, very short-lived, he foreshadowed the entire events of the series.
Hmm.
So I give props to him. You know.
Yeah. So thing is that we got a few characters that are leading up. So we got Ed and Al's teacher,
Oh, Azumi.
Izumi. Tell me about her, Joel.
She's just a regular housewife. The end. But she also, I could understand what she went through, and basically, Ed went through the same thing that she did, because she basically, even though she is well skilled in alchemy,
Hmm.
she also had suffered the same fate of performing human transmutation to bring back her dead child, her baby that was never born, and basically, as a result, she lost her organs.
Yeah.
But
There's a
she
lot of
also went through
sad stuff in this one.
she went through the gate too, so she was granted every secret that alchemy had to offer her. So basically, before we're known more about her and how she became acquainted with Ed and Al, she seemed tough, and honestly, she reminded me a little bit, in terms of character design. She reminded me of Yayuro from My Hero
Yeah,
Academia.
but not only that about that comparison, she reminds me of All Might. Um,
Right, because of the
because
blood
of the blood
spewing, and
spewing out
also
of her
because
mouth, and she's a teacher.
she's the teacher.
So it's like
She was
it's a
basically
really interesting
she.
like thing where it's like yeah, and he has an organ missing, he's bleeding out of his mouth. It's same similar concept. I can't believe I didn't notice that when I first saw it because like dang, I'm forgetting a lot of stuff these
I
days.
thought of All Might too.
But
I drew, there was a lot of, I drew a good amount of comparisons with Full
so
Metal
yeah,
Alchemist
like
and My Hero
My Hero
Academia.
Academia takes a lot from a lot of different series, like
Hmm.
to make something really good and nice, so like that's a plus for that. But look at that, can't even go one video without praising My Hero. But so one thing that is interesting is that okay, so yeah, so she's a very interesting character. She did a lot, and
She certainly did. In fact, she even helped Captain Buccaneer at the end basically take over Central and basically pave a way for them in. At the same time, too, I
yeah,
forgot to mention too. I we'll get into that later, but she definitely serves as a really, really important character by the end of the series, considering that she was one of the human sacrifices needed to complete Father's transmutation circle. So it was basically, well, Van Hohenheim. We'll get into him soon too,
well
because he's a
yeah.
very interesting character.
Yeah, those are pretty important things.
And
So,
Trisha Elric too, because there's a lot. I can't believe we overlooked Trisha in terms of like the Elric family. But
well,
well,
we're getting there. We're getting there. We need to go through some more bulky stuff. But the thing is that other than that, what the next person that I was going to is there any other person that you think you need to talk about?
um, aside from the Mustang unit, I mean that they're just a whole collective unit under Mustang. I thought they were all interesting characters in their own way.
Hmm.
So, besides that, oh, Olivier. I can't. We were about to overlook Olivier for a second.
The sister of.
Ice, yeah, the Armstrong sister.
Yes. What do you think
I
of
think
her?
the eldest one.
Yeah, yeah, big lips.
Feist, fucking feisty. Like, like her character, she like even though like her fight with Sloth, she kind of was outpowered in a way. She is still quite of an intimidating character for what she poses as, and I liked the way she trained her men in Briggs, like that they should all work as one force and that they shouldn't rely on someone to lead them, and that if something goes wrong and something happens to the leader, that they should become their own leader and step up to serve as their own force to fight the enemy. So I was like, I like the way she trained her men. She definitely, trained them a lot. She basically trained the Marines while Central was trained as the army. Not, no disrespect at all to any like branches of the military. That's just kind of how I felt because the Marines are certainly like their training is quite rigorous as compared to like the U.S. Army from what I've been seeing in the documentaries I've seen and like from what I've heard from actual people that served in the military from both branches.
Okay.
So that's why I was like, yeah.
So the thing is that I do like Armstrong and Olivia's
Like I like the
sibling
connection, like
relationships.
the brother. Yeah,
It's a very funny relationship. They get pretty crazy in that house.
the whole fight they had, like literally throughout, like literally, like I forgot what episode it was when they were having a fight around the mansion. I do also want to mention that too in terms of plot too.
Hmm.
I thought that it was just basically simple rivalry and just Olivia wanting to take over, basically wanting to take over the Armstrong estate. But what was crazy is that it was actually an ingenious plan because she did it because she didn't after hearing about who father was and what his plans was to do to the country. She realized that she wanted to take over the estates that way. Throughout the renovations, she would gain her men enough time to basically like load everything up to take over Central, and basically she did it to send her family away to a foreign country so that they wouldn't be caught in father's plan in the transmutation circle. That's why she did that originally, which is why I was like, wow, quite of an ingenious plan if you think about it. I didn't even think about that until like when I rewatched the fight scene again and someone mentioned it in the comment section. I was like, kudos to that person, by the way. I was like, wow, I didn't even think about it like that. And also too, when Armstrong mentioned that why has she sided with Central all of a sudden, when she basically explained that she's basically overlooking on what they're doing and that she's only connected to them in name. She's not actually siding. But yeah, I think she was definitely one of the most strongest characters in the series.
Mm. Okay. Anybody else you want to talk about before we get to Hohenheim?
Um, I think that's it for now. You
All
know,
right. Hohenheim. So let's get into the main crux of the story, Hohenheim and father.
I feel like he was the main protagonist of it all. Hohenheim. Yeah, Edward was technically the main antagonist. Full Metal, but I felt this was more of Hohenheim's story.
Mm.
After all, his story
Yeah,
basically he was just a
as far
slave.
as the plot goes, yeah, I feel what
As
you
far
mean.
as the plot goes, I felt that this was definitely like this was definitely circled around him more
Yeah,
in terms
more
of
like.
like the overall
So
plot,
so let so
because
tell me about that backstory. Tell me about that
so
backstory of him
basically
and
he
father.
was just a slave that was basically that had his blood extracted from him to create the dwarf in the flask who would eventually become father. And basically father gave him the proposition of basically seeking knowledge and basically gaining immortality. So basically Hohenheim, who was known as I think slave number 23, if I'm correct, basically accepted that proposition, learned alchemy with the help of his master and with the help of father, who was originally the dwarf in the flask, and eventually leading up to the days of the promised immortality that father had for all of them, with the transmutation circle for Xerxes and everything,
Hmm.
we find out that father had definitely given Hohenheim his immortality, considering that everybody was used in Xerxes, his people, to be sacrificed to create a philosopher's stone for Father. And that way he took Hohenheim's shape as a human. And basically, that's where everything kicks off. So basically, Hohenheim literally had lived on for thousands of years. And basically, to seek knowledge and everything, it wasn't until he met Trisha and Panako, Winry's grandmother. When he met Trisha as a child, because honestly, it was like literally Trisha met Hohenheim when she was just a child. I was like, yo, if you look at it in the context that he basically banged a child when he first met. I mean, I'm not trying to look at it that way, but like, it just seems interesting.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, but we don't think about that.
yeah, of course not.
Like,
But
so
it's
what's
just kind of it
next?
was like one of those things.
Yeah,
But
I
like,
know.
she basically was the reason why Hohenheim actually reconsidered his immortality and and also to stop Father too for his plans, because Father at that point was already aiming to become the perfect being, probably more perfect than God himself. So basically, Hohenheim, honestly, I couldn't be mad at Hohenheim kids behind. Like I
Yeah.
understand people are angry at leaving Ed and Al.
Another thing, how of skipping a section, but Father really did find out that he did not know the truth. Like he couldn't accept it. He couldn't understand it at all. So that was a factor as 12, if I recall.
Yeah. So basically, all the people that were sacrificed basically were the people that gave Hohenheim his immortality.
Yeah, he remembered all the names.
That's why, like, by the end of the series, Hohenheim basically travels and calculates like different places where Father, like, of the transmutation circle, and basically draws blood from himself to release the souls of like the people that he knew when they were still alive, to basically counter affect Father's transmutation by the end of the series, which is why even though he absorbed God, everything went wrong because the souls of Xerxes that Hohenheim contained basically helped them out and aided to basically counter effect the father's plan. So I was like, wow, I did not. I was like, that's crazy, because that's where it drew the line for me that a lot of this basically with the whole bigger aspect of the story definitely felt more like a Hohenheim story than Ed and Al, because technically, yeah, they were tied into the story too, but basically their story was more based around on trying to get their body back, whereas like it eventually led to the point that they unraveled the biggest picture of the entire story. So, which is why like I felt that Hohenheim was definitely the hero of like the whole story by the end of it, even though Ed definitely and Al did a lot too. Basically the Elric family were the heroes of Amestris, is how I could put it,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. Now, a very interesting aspect of this is that is that of like this continuing question of truth and things of that nature, which is very interesting to me in this series, and what the truth was, because Ed discovered that at the end. But every
Mm.
time, let's not forget about this amazing scene when Ed is talking to Alphonse in the white place. What is it called? Why am I blanking on this?
The portal, the
Yeah, the
gate of
door, the gate of
yeah,
knowledge, right? Yeah,
the gate of truth.
the gate of truth. So when he meets Al's body there, you know,
That
that is a
was
scene. That
that
is a scene
scene was a sucker puncher, like
because
emotionally,
hmm
because he finally found Al's body. Through it confirmed his theory that Al's body definitely existed somewhere, which is why Al is able to live on.
yeah,
Because technically speaking, if a human soul is like, if the human soul is only gone if the body is like got like destroyed. So it confirmed that Al was definitely gonna get his body back and that he was definitely still around.
yeah.
So I think you and I can agree, or everyone that's watched Full Metal that's watching this can agree that when Ed broke through the gate
hmm
to get his message out to
Yeah,
Alphonse that he
telling
will
him that
eventually
he will
return
he
to
will
come
return to
back for
come back
him,
for him.
before
Whew,
the ending credits.
whew.
That was the
That was
most
hot.
chilling scene.
That was hot.
That scene was
Like
straight up
that
fire.
was one of those things where it's like, yo, that's a real ass goon right there. Cause like
A
cause like
fucking
you
if you
know that
Ed
Ed
defied
cared about
truth
like
because of
he
his
defied
love
that.
for his
Like
own brother.
bro, that's saying like, nah, fuck all that. Fuck all these things pulling me back. I'll show you how determined I am. Like,
Like the fire in his, like the scream
damn.
and like the emotion in his voice. Like he practically defied truth to be for
Just
out
to
of
say that.
love for his own. And that's why I was like, family, dude. That's what it
Um
does to you when you care so much about family.
and so the craziest part was that I think we can get into the final battle here with Father himself. That was a roller coaster. That was a real roller coaster here because we basically have this scene of like Al- I feel like Alphon's real like character arc ending of him like really accepting it and understanding what needs to be done. You know, a lot of things were said in this one. So tell me about Alphon's sacrifice.
It shook me because I know Al,
Yeah,
like throughout the series, Al
real
was
me and
like
you moment, huh?
slipping out of consciousness though because he felt that his soul, his body, like the armor was rejecting his soul. Because
Hmm.
Ed did make a point that after some time, like if if the soul and the like vessel that's being held into it like has been bounded for a long time, that it could start to reject each other, so Al could possibly be gone for good. So when Al finally sacrificed himself, and he said and he told truth that he has faith that Ed will come back for him, and that he did it because when his automail was destroyed and he literally was pinned down
Because they
before
had
Father could
fused
reach.
the
Yeah,
the body in the void and the soul that was on the outside fused together, which so
yeah.
many fucking questions. But yeah, um,
His sacrifice was honorable because it was the only way Ed was
yeah.
back
So
and transmute.
so you did predict it though. That was interesting because like you had told me before. Yeah, I feel like this is gonna happen, and like oh shit. But
I did, and
but
it was crazy when I finally saw it.
but what did you how did you feel when he got his arm back when like the little girl, the little Asian girl through
May,
through
right?
yeah
May,
like through the knives and it
the
created
Alkahest,
the yeah.
no, I'm just quick question before we get into that. Was the Alkahestry part? Did she do that because basically, if Al sacrificed himself, it was also Alkahestry was also to reverse the effects of alchemy in a way, so that way Ed was able to get his arm back. I'm not sure because Alkahestry is also known for medical use, but
I don't know. I felt like it was just to
well, I
make a
don't know.
transmutation circle, but like on a wall real fast. But I don't know.
I mean that's another thing too. That probably answers it. But when when Al said "Keep going, brother," and freaking Ed screamed for Al, he literally went to full battle mode. Like he just
Yeah.
fucking went off on Father.
And then he tore that barbed wire out of his fucking arm. Um. And so what do you think about the final battle when Edward was just hand to hand combating Father?
Bro, every fight, every punch that every blow that Ed connected with Father was basically a payback for every event that happened throughout the series. Is how I looked at it.
Also,
Like
did you see how everybody was screaming for Ed, like being like, "Yeah, beat his ass, Ed."
also there was a blooper that I want to mention.
Mhm.
Blooper where in that scene Hohenheim screams "fuck him up."
Fuck him up.
So you gotta watch the Full Metal
Yeah,
Alchemist bloopers. They're
I gotta
amazing.
watch
It
that.
was
That's
amazing. I
you
watched it
fuck
immediately
him
after
up.
I finished the series.
Cause like yeah, that's basically how that scene went. Like yeah, fuck him up, Ed. Do it. Um, and it was so like crazy, cause it's like dang, like we're really
He
on
was
a
losing his power too, and what's crazy is that Father was losing all of his power. So Ed was able to throw as many punches as he can, and it was crazy when Father started realizing, like, how is it even possible that someone inferior, just as inferior to me, is literally beating my ass right now? How is this even possible? You know,
Yeah.
because it shows that even someone who strives to be the most perfect being and who reached that level can still be broken down to their core.
Mhm.
So I was like, this that whole fight, and even what gave me what got me throughout this fight like chills was when every character throughout the series that were still alive at that point even helped to fight Father too. So you had the Briggs, you had the troops from Briggs, Lanfan, the two Chimeras, Azumi, Armstrong, Ed. All of them were basically fighting Father to basically try and lower him
Yeah.
down. It was crazy. So I
Um.
was just like it shows you that even all the smallest characters that were introduced out the like series, like who didn't have that much of a significant like use, were actually still there to contribute and fight and aid the main characters. So I was like, this anime, I don't know, like this anime was just fucking awesome, you know.
Yeah.
But
So
I'll give you my verdict by the end of it.
so one final thing we have to talk about before we wrap up
Hmm.
this is truth. Edward finally figured out what truth was. All he had to do was just say no to the drugs.
You Truth is like, listen, I just wanted to know throughout this whole time if you had that good,
Like just
and I would have
just
gave you your brother back.
if you had just denied the drug, then you could have been alright. All you had to say was
Literally,
no, nigga. Yo, dead ass. All they had to do to like it was sort of a cop when you think when I think about it right now, but like all he had to do was just be like, yo, I give up my alchemy, and he was like, yeah, no, that's the right fucking answer.
now,
That's what you should have
now,
did first time.
although, now listen, although I like
Mhm.
that idea, although yes, definitely was a fucking slap in the, it definitely was like, yo, this is what I should have done all along. At the same time too, there was reasons why I felt that it was a good thing that Ed kept his alchemy all the way until the end.
Well, yeah.
Because
Well, because
yeah.
the country would have been fucked. But
Yeah,
like you know,
could you
um,
imagine if Ed and Al got their bodies back
and
and Ed
then
gave up his alchemy before Father they defeated?
yeah,
Literally, they would have. I don't think. I mean, maybe Hohenheim would have been able to stop Father, but even then, I don't feel. I felt that without the help of his two sons, I felt that even Hohenheim wouldn't have been enough. I mean, you saw how he got kicked in the fucking. That
yeah,
literally Ed had to finish everything off.
yeah. I always loved the relationship between Ed and Hohenheim because Ed was so fucking angry at him because he left them, and that was
It was
always
sort of like
interesting. Yeah,
literally, I was waiting for calm Father. I mean, he did at the end,
yeah,
just in a more in a more venomous way, like you rotten father. But it does show that at the end, though, Ed, even though Ed still felt some kind of malice towards his father, he did honor the sacrifice that the offer that his father was willing to sacrifice himself to bring Alphonse back.
yeah.
Especially when he said that
But boy,
because
howdy,
Alphonse is my son.
Did Hohenheim acknowledge Ed as his son though?
And like
In that
what
one
all
scene,
and
I forget it, but yeah,
yeah, but even also Ling too. You don't understand like how much trouble he left his country to basically search a philosopher immortality so that way he can rule his country. At the end, he was willing to give up his that plan to help Ed bring Alphonse back, but after they found out the main ingredient to the Philosopher's Stone was human lives, Ed refused to use it as a promise to Al that they would never use a Philosopher's Stone for at
yeah,
least that reason. So when it occurred to Ed, because okay, in that moment I didn't know either what the fuck what was gonna happen. So I kept thinking, is this it? Like, are they real? Like, Ed's just gonna live on without him? And then when Ed looked at his arms, right, it didn't connect with me until they finally got to the gate where Ed basically pointed to his portal, like this portal of truth, and told Truth that this is basically everything that I have. It's basic, and that I'm allowed to use it the way I want it to. And
yeah,
basically, when the best part, the climax of that one scene was when Ed said, "Who even needs alchemy when I've got them?" And then Truth finally exclaimed in
Yeah,
excitement that Ed finally
which
beat him.
in
Because
all
literally, all
honesty
that's
it's a very shonen thing to say that because it's all about friendship, effort, and victory. And like when we go through that, even though I don't think, yeah, even though Fullmetal Alchemist isn't like a shonen, like isn't shonen jump, it still had that. So you had the effort of them trying to get their bodies back. You had the victory over their adversary, and then you had the main goal being friendship. And basically that just means bonds. Having his bonds mean more than him than his power.
yeah. So when when Ed gave up alchemy, I was just like, wow. So when that music, that whole I think it's the main theme for Full Metal Alchemist, when finally Ed brought Al back into reality, I was like, fucking chills, dude. Like,
Yeah.
goddamn, they
So,
they were doing my emotions dirty with that scene.
yo, and he's already dead. Shit. You need to stop. So tell me, bro. Before I just
Yeah.
want to ask you, what was your favorite scene in this series?
Oh God, I don't even know. Like, okay, honestly, um, basically when Ed finally saw Al's body,
Uh huh.
because it definitely foreshadowed the ending to the series, and also because it shows you like how much family can truly mean. Because you gotta think, Ed practically fucking punched through his damn gate just to get the message out to Alphonse that he will eventually come back for him and that he'll make the promise.
Hmm.
And another scene is when he basically told Winry was that the next time the next time she cries, it's out of tears of joy when him and Al come back and their bodies restored.
Yeah.
That was another good one.
Even though he had denied alchemy at the end, when he talked to Winry, before he got on the train, he was like, ending their little love arc when he said, equivalent exchange. I give you some of me, and you give me some of
Some good old
you.
comic, some good old comic
And
relief before they
it
conclude the
was
series.
it was one of those things, and he was still
Another
living by an
another
equivalent exchange.
another one of my favorite scenes too was when they reunite with Winry,
Hmm.
because you probably knew this, you probably paid attention, but you notice how like Winry hesitated to open the door when she heard Al's voice. Now you're probably thinking, oh, it's been a long time since they finally reunited, so they probably were successful and stopped like saving the country. But it was what Al said when he basically said that tickles, because Winry hasn't heard that Al say something like that since they were kids before he lost his body.
Yeah, because
So when she
nothing
walked to the door
tickled.
and she saw Al restored in his body and
Oh,
Ed basically giving him that "I told you I'd bring him back" type of look, and she ran up to them, tackled them, and gave them a hug,
yeah.
I was just like, God fucking damn, Full Metal! Like,
It's one of those
what
things.
emotion of mine haven't you fucked yet? Like,
Like it's one of those crazy moments in which you understand that, dang, we did it. We did it. Cause like there was like, oh gosh, this series would have hurt even more if it was like rated more like for an older audience, bro. Half of the stuff would just be crazy. It would be wild,
it
wild
was.
if it was
To
more
be honest,
mature. Like,
this was one of the animes that I've watched. Or I mean, not compared. I mean, yeah, Afro Samurai was one of them, but this definitely had a lot of gore in it too, like a
yeah.
considerable amount. Excuse me.
Yeah. Okay. So, but now I'm actually very interested to see which one you will like better, this or Attack on Titan. Though, hmm, I'll have to see. Like, they're close to me. They're close. I mean, like,
I
Full Metal
like
is like a notch above because I've seen everything in both series. So to me, Full Metal Alchemist is still a notch above Attack on Titan because of its classicness. But Attack on Titan's up there, especially since I really like how he does certain things, that author. But
oh
yeah.
yeah, but honestly, I just like if I could rate the series because I'm caught up with My Hero now,
Hmm.
so I can't really. I don't know. I can't say in terms of completion which one is better, but I could say this like how I felt overall. Even though I watched My Hero Academia first, a lot of scenes that gripped me and a lot of characters that stuck with me and from My Hero, Full Metal Alchemist to me, I loved the series. I love the series more than I do My Hero Academia.
Mm.
And to be honest, and now here's the thing: even if you were to show me Full Metal Alchemist before My Hero, I still would have said Full Metal is my favorite anime over My Hero. There was just too many scenes from Full Metal that gripped me emotionally in different ways that I just can't like. You don't know how long our RDT session because I was determined to finish Full Metal before the next RDT session.
Hmm.
And man, was I not disappointed one bit.
So
I am
so
actually
so you would
content.
say you're a fan.
Yeah, to the point that I want to watch the O3 series because I need more Full Metal in my life.
Mm, okay. Okay.
Hell, it even got me to the point that fuck it. Like if
Would
I
you would
after I
you would
finish
would you ever read the manga?
the thing is though, like I would say if I just basically out of the curiosity of like how are things different in the manga than they are in the anime because even though Brotherhood adapts the manga, like obviously there's probably some elements that are different, you know. So it's like I definitely want to just take a look and to see like what things are different and what things that Brotherhood changed from the manga. Although I'm sure you read the manga in its entirety, right? So
Hmm.
like there's probably some like a little bit of elements that are different.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
assuming.
Well, yeah. But like
So
as usual. But like Brother
but
obviously
for
does
now, I
follow
think
much more. But yeah.
I'm content with my experience with Full Metal because I at least I watched the main series that was adapted around the manga. Now, the better question is, would I watch the O3 series? Obviously, I would because I want to know like how exactly is it different. Now, I heard that apparently the movie that came out for the O3 series is basically a continuation of the events of the O3 series, and that basically that's where the series concludes is in the movie. Now, also, Brotherhood also has a movie too, but I don't know if it I don't know if it also I don't think it concludes from where Brotherhood left off, is because Al's in his armored body in the movie apparently, from what I see, and it's like he already got his body back by the end of the series, so it's like is it real? Does it really connect with the main story? But I'm quite sure this is probably. But what I'm thinking is that okay, basically maybe the movie Brotherhood is basically takes place somewhere during the events of Brotherhood. That's just my guess, but I want to
Hmm.
basically watch the O3 series eventually. Watch the two movies, and then hell, if I'm really feeling myself a little bit, I might even just watch the live action movie out for shits and giggles because apparently I've been hearing that it's it's subpar.
Yeah. It just takes the most famous scenes and just puts them all together. But like I I'm glad that you enjoyed it. So like give me an overall thing about like how you felt about the series and give me that final rating, my guy.
Okay, my emotions were gripped both from anger, happiness. I've actually felt genuine sadness too for things that have happened in the series, and just like that connection with family, like how much they could mean to you. The amount of chills I got just watching the whole series.
Mm.
Like the energy I felt, like the determination and like how the plots connect and how they executed like the scenes. Like I got multiple goosebumps from like one episode.
Now, do you understand why I watch anime, my guy? You get it? You
Yes.
understand what I'm
Now
saying?
yeah, I completely understand you because I can say for certainty now that I certainly appreciate anime and actually love anime more than I had years ago because you already know me and you already know this about me, dude, that I never really cared about anime back then. I just kind of brushed it off as whatever. I'll stick with my cartoons. But actually watching several animes and actually having completing two series, I completed Afro Samurai and Full Metal Alchemist. So I completed two anime series. How crazy is that? So I can
Hmm.
scratch both of those off of my anime bucket list. So I could say with certain. So before I wrap up and give my conclusion, I just want to say basically my perspective of anime has changed significantly.
But I have okay. So what's the rating, Joel?
Now I've always told you, Justice, that I always give a 9.5 out of 10 because I would if I were to give a 10 out of 10, I that pretty much be lying.
Hmm.
But with this anime, I wouldn't be lying if I gave this a solid 10 out of 10.
So this is
This
one of the
is this is
greats.
this is one of the greats because I can say with certain because I always say 9.5 because I don't want to say 10 out of 10 because I know I'd be lying. But I would also know I'd be lying if I gave this a 9.5 out of 10.
Mm.
So for the truth, I give this a 10 out of 10.
You heard it here
Possibly a
first,
fucking 11 or maybe like
folks.
11 out of 10.
You heard
This
it
was
here
just
first.
one of
This
the
is the
best.
first anime that Joel has seen that he's given a full 10 out of 10. This is a what do we call this? This has got to have a name. This is a, this is what a, this is an OL classic. This is an OL classic right
And
here. This is
it,
a
it
this is star platinum right here.
it stumped me to the fact that I can't believe I hadn't watched this when it first came out. But at the same time, I'm
You would have been
glad
into
sometime
it
after it came out.
if it
Yeah.
if when it first came out, bro.
But
But
the thing is, like with the amount of cliffhangers at each episode, it would have killed me to just wait for the next episode to come. So
I
at
mean,
least I did watch it
don't
after
worry
the
about that
series
because if you had
concluded.
watched it back then, you would have watched the full series anyway. But that's just how that works back then, bro. Like there wasn't really like a release type of schedule back then. Like especially for like us young kids, we just found it when we found it. So like it
Yeah.
was one of those things. So don't worry, you wouldn't have had to wait for the older stuff. Newer stuff you do have to wait for. But yeah. So to to ask what's next for the in the realm of Joel looking for anime. What show are you heading
Well,
to next? Now I
Promise
know
Neverland
now
is very promising
now we're gonna
already.
already finish that. We already know that's happening. I mean, what's gonna replace Full Metal Alchemist? And I know you're about to watch the other one. I know you're about to watch the other one. But what's beyond Full Metal Alchemist right now? What's the
I
next thing?
listen. I want to get back at Attack on Titan because it's starting to get interesting for me. I felt like Junior High was enough to basically get me inspired and basically have me feel connected with the characters more. Like it definitely made me want to see like what the main series has to offer, and that definitely there's more to it. Because
Mm,
okay, listen, even though I haven't watched Attack on Titan as much as I should have been, there were some scenes before I went on pure hiatus where I actually felt good emotions from, like powerful emotions. Like when basically Mikasa, Armin, Sasha, and the rest of them basically stayed back to fight and actually put their line down for the garrison army to basically fight the Titans, where everyone else basically backed the fuck off because they were like, nah. Now that I think about it, I value my life too much. I don't think I could do this. I don't think I could lay my own life down for my country, for the people that I care about. You know,
hmm
whereas they stuck around to be like, no, I don't care what it takes. If it means that I have to die for the people I care about, then so be it. So that was a scene that really gripped me in Attack on Titan. So I don't know. Attack on Titan might replace Full Metal, but here's the thing: with anime, I don't think any series really replaces each other,
Now,
like
now, now,
with
I
cartoons and
don't mean
such.
like the height of like I don't mean like the height of liking it. I don't mean that. What I'm talking about is like what are you gonna watch next? Is like what replaces it in your viewing list is what I meant. Are you gonna add a new one to it? Are you gonna go back to Full Metal? I mean, Attack on Titan and finish it, or are you gonna add a new one like Yu Hakusho that we've been talking about? I was asking that sort of thing.
That's the thing. I want to just watch. Like I might watch Attack just to get back into the swing of it.
Hmm.
So I'll watch Attack on Titan
Yeah,
again. But
but
if I feel
remember,
there's another, but I'll take some, like I'll take some breaks in between. Like obviously, I still want to watch the O3 Full Metal. So
of
there are
course.
still some animes I want to.
I
I
was just
do want to
looking,
get. I
past
do
that.
want to finally get into food in terms of like just comic relief type anime and such. Because it is a series that does grip my mind because you know how much I love food. So I will return. I will eventually restart Food Wars. So
Yes.
right
Um,
now, there's a lot on my anime bucket list. I mean, holy shit, dude! Like the amount I have on my list is fucking amazing. Especially someone like me, I never even think that I'd ever get into anime. That's the crazy part. I always felt like here's the thing: like my older siblings, even my sister, they loved Dragon Ball. Even my in-laws, like yeah, they were interested in like the Dragon Ball series. So and so they had some kind of interest in anime, and I
Now,
felt like
bro,
everyone around. Go
if
ahead.
you watch Dragon Ball and finish it, you're up on my tier now. You're still below me, Joel. You know what I'm saying in the terms of the tier list. But if you watch Dragon Ball in its entirety, my nigga, I will give you props. I will
Although I'm
that
below your
that
tier
that
list,
will that
how
will like that will give you a golf clap for me because like that's
now?
mad
Now
respect.
the thing is, although I'm below your tier list, like how close am I to your tier
How
list?
closer you need a few more series under your belt before you're my level, but
Obviously,
before I
I'm
really
not
start
there yet.
respecting you, you're still a child in my eyes, but like you
A
know
fucking novice.
once you
You're
once you
still not.
start once you start really getting the swing, I might be like that, but bro, you watch any shonen in its entirety, like the big shonens, and you watch it in its entirety, you'll have my full respect. That means you're with us now. you know but yeah.
Now is Carlos on your tier of in
uh
terms of anime or
yes. Now here's the thing. What I will tell you, the Jojo will, is that you are gonna have to. It's one of those things where you're gonna have to choose one of the big Shonen Jump series. It Look at the premises of them and then choose which one you think you'd be most interested in and just focus on that. Some people can watch all of it, like watch all of them, like me, but some people just can't. But it is important to just choose one.
no?
Really, like
Before we get into yeah, I would like how's exactly is Carlos like on your tier? Because you told me that he's more into the romance,
well, he's just watched more than you. That's why. He's watched enough to be
but he's watched enough to be on your level or
yeah,
at
on
least closer to yours.
well, he's on my level, but like he's watched enough to be on my level, of course.
Hmm.
Are you okay? But anyway,
No, it
um,
was just because I was like the way you made it seem like he didn't seem like he watched like other animes other than like like the
no, no,
romance.
no, no. He watches stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Uh
Like he's also watched Naruto. And fully, but like but just to tell you, so these are your options with the big ones. So you have a lot of them that are see you could finish JoJo, which would bring you closer, but like you got Dragon Ball Z, which is martial arts, and like a lot of fighting like that. Then you have Naruto, which is about ninjas, okay, and then you have Bleach, which is more about samurai and more about like using blades and like death gods and stuff like that, like because they have to fight these sort of beings. Then you have One Piece, which is about pirates and much more like friendship orientated. It's about pirates. So you have those like four to like think about and like look them up, look which one you think is like looks the best, and I would say like start slowly getting into that, because any one of those you watch the full entirety of it, you're on my level. But yeah, just to say, just to let you know, like if you are interested in them, now you can totally just keep watching series and then get on my level like that. But I would recommend that you go into like a shonen series because it does give you it does give you a fandom to go into that's really nice, and it's just very
I feel
very
like I've been
interesting.
leaning towards the shonen series throughout this time though.
Yeah,
If you think
like
about it.
I don't know, man. Like you can watch like different types of series that are more other streams of like genre. You might like it. Depends. But yeah. So yeah.
Well, although I'm not on your level, I'm quite content with the experience I have gained so far
Yeah,
with
of
my
course, of
viewing in
course, and I'm
anime.
so glad you are. Don't get me misconstrued. I'm a very top tier guy, but but
I haven't learned my ultimate moves yet, so that's for
Uh,
sure.
but don't worry because
I'm still first year.
you'll see what's so great about being on this sort of plane.
But though, in terms of what level I am, what tier am I considered though?
Uh,
Novice?
you're still a novice. You haven't. You haven't seen all there is to see. You know,
But I still, yeah, I figured that. I know like there's definitely a lot that I
there's
have
just
yet to.
things that you don't know yet. You feels me? So like just but take your time, of course. Take your time. You know, I want you to enjoy it. That's the most thing of all. It's no race. Just But yeah, I'm really glad that you finally saw the entirety of Full Metal Alchemist. I'm sort of jealous of you, honestly, because I'm envy right now. I'm about to turn into your most loved one and kill you.
Wait,
About to do
wait,
you
why
dirty.
jealous though?
Cause no,
You
because
watched the
you
series?
no, I know, but you get to watch it for the first time, and watching it from the first time is the best.
Oh,
That's why I was saying that. It was a joke, but yeah.
I
Um,
wish it was possible to erase my memories just so I can watch it again with that same feeling.
yeah,
I would love that to just
it,
reimburse that innocence.
it's amazing yeah, because like like rewatches are good, but it's never as good as that first viewing. So yeah, so that's one of those things.
But
So
to wrap this up, we should get into the final part.
now here's the
Uh,
thing. Here's the thing, bro. We're already at this much time. Do you want to cut it here?
Honestly, yeah, because I want to talk more.
Now,
I feel like with Promise Neverland, I want to watch the next episode because
yeah,
the
because
next episode is
we have
already
the
out.
access. We have the access for it, and
Yeah, we finally have
we're
the
gonna
access.
catch up. We're gonna take some notes, and then we'll do a big extravaganza for our usual episode. This was a special episode, honestly, because of the fact that you had finished Full Metal Alchemist, really. So like we had to talk about
This
that.
is more of the Full Metal. This is more of the Full Metal podcast. The Full Metal
Talk and review. You know what I'm
commemoration.
saying? Because we need to cement this. This is new. You know what I'm saying? Uh,
For the one of the first anime, you know, that I've actually completed and actually gave my solid 10 out of 10, which is
Yeah,
quite
like
rare
it's 10
actually.
out of 10 out here. It's amazing. And I can't wait to see how you react to other ones. But yeah, you continue. You know what I'm saying? But just to put a tag, thank you guys for listening to us. Episode 4, we're steadily going, steadily improving each time. I'm having fun.
I had too much. Honestly, like it just felt like a normal talk.
Yeah, you
You
did.
know, It- like that's what I love. Like it just feels so good to finally get into the swing of this. Actually, be not just like not just have a talk with you, Justice, but also communicate with you guys too. Because after all, whatever you guys like, whatever you guys want to hear, like whatever topics you feel are interesting, you know, we'll talk about it. That's basically what the whole spectrum of RDT is about.
Yeah.
Just
We're
random
growing.
topics, whatever we feel we
We're trying
like.
to find where we're
So
going. But yeah,
yeah,
it's going. It's gonna keep going up there. And honestly, this is just for fun. But like, who knows where it could go? And I feel good about that. So like, yeah. But
I think this may have been the longest one we've done so far because I think because yeah, I feel like this is the longest one because I
yeah,
feel like
like
we would start at
a
12 and we
minute,
would end.
like an
Yeah,
hour and 42. So
but thank you guys so much. And if I could to what I want to say before I wrap things up is remember October 3, Full
yo,
Metal Alchemist Day,
oh my
never
God.
turning back.
See you guys next time.